What surprised me most after turning 80 wasn't how much I had in the bank. It was how little that number meant to me on a quiet Tuesday morning, sitting at my kitchen table with the light coming in sideways, nothing on the calendar, nobody needing anything from me. I sat there for almost an hour, didn't read anything, didn't think about anything in particular, and somewhere in that hour it hit me. I spent 40 years protecting my money like it was the only thing standing between me and disaster. And here I was, 82 years old, finally understanding that money had almost nothing to do with this feeling. This good, quiet, full feeling I had sitting there with my coffee going cold. I didn't get there easily. Let me be honest with you. For most of my life, I thought security meant numbers, a balance, a pension, something written down that proved you'd be okay. My father lived through the Depression, and he passed that fear down to me without ever meaning to. Every dollar I saved felt like a brick in a wall I was building around myself. I thought if the wall got tall enough, nothing could touch me. It took me years to realize the wall doesn't keep out the things that actually hurt you. Margaret used to tell me that, gently, mind you. She wasn't the type to lecture. She'd just say, "Arthur, you're working awfully hard to protect something that isn't even in the room with us." I didn't understand what she meant back then. I do now, and I wish I'd understood it about 30 years sooner. So I want to talk to you today about 5 things. 5 things I protect now, at 82, far more carefully than I ever protected a bank account. I didn't choose these 5 because they sound nice in a video. I chose them because I've watched good people lose every one of them, sometimes without even noticing it was happening. And by the time they noticed, it was harder to get back than any amount of money ever was. The first one is my peace. I used to think peace was something you earned after you'd won enough arguments. I was wrong about that for a long time. I had a neighbor years ago, fellow named Roy, lived 2 doors down. Roy and I disagreed about almost everything: politics, lawn care, the right way to grill a steak. For a stretch of about 2 years, I couldn't let a single one of those disagreements go. I'd lie awake composing the perfect comeback for something he'd said 3 days earlier. Can you imagine that? A grown man losing sleep over a conversation about fence lines. One evening, Margaret found me out on the porch, just sitting there stewing, and she asked what was wrong. I told her about Roy, about the fence, about how he was wrong and I was right, and somebody needed to tell him so. She listened to the whole thing. Then she said, "Arthur, is being right tonight worth losing tonight?" That stopped me cold, because I hadn't been enjoying a single evening in 2 years. I'd traded all of them for the chance to be right about something nobody would remember in a month. I started letting things go after that. Not because I'd gone soft, because I finally understood that every argument I won was costing me something that mattered more than winning. These days, when somebody wants to pull me into a fight that doesn't matter, I just let it pass through the room like weather. It took me decades to learn this, but I'll say it plain. Once you're past 60, peace is not the boring choice. It's the brave one. The second thing is my time. Now, everybody talks about money like it's the rarest thing in the world. It isn't. Money comes back. I've lost it and gained it more than once in my life. Time doesn't work that way. Time only goes one direction, and once it's spent, there's no earning it back, no matter how hard you work. I didn't understand this until I retired and looked up one day and realized I'd spent 30 years saying yes to things I didn't want to do, just because saying no felt rude. Committees, favors, long lunches with people I didn't particularly enjoy. I thought being agreeable was the same thing as being good. It isn't. It's just being available. And availability isn't free. It costs you the only thing you can't replace. Now I guard my mornings like they're worth something, because they are. I sit with my coffee. I read for an hour if I feel like it. Some days I don't talk to a single person until noon, and I don't apologize for that anymore. I learned to say no without explaining myself to death. I appreciate the invitation, but that one's not for me. That's the whole sentence. You don't owe anybody 3 more behind it. My granddaughter Rosie asked me once why I don't keep a busy schedule like some of the other men at the senior center. I told her, "Rosie, I spent 50 years being busy. I'm not interested in being busy anymore. I'm interested in being here." She didn't fully understand it at 22. I don't think you're supposed to understand it at 22. But she'll get there. The third thing is my health. Now, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you some miracle routine is going to make you young again. That's not how any of this works, and anybody who tells you different is selling something. But I'll tell you what I've noticed, plainly, from where I'm sitting. Every healthy day, once you're past 60, starts to feel like a gift instead of a guarantee. I walk most mornings, not far, maybe 20 minutes around the block and back. Some days my knee complains the whole way. I do it anyway, because I've watched what happens to the men who stop. My friend Everett stopped walking after his wife passed. Just stopped. Said there wasn't any point walking alone. Within a year, the stairs in his own house had become a project. Within 2, he wasn't driving anymore. It wasn't one big collapse. It was 100 small surrenders, one after another, and each one made the next one easier to make. I eat simple food. I try to get outside, even in the cold, because sunlight on your face does something for you that I can't explain scientifically, but I know it when I feel it. And I laugh when something's funny, instead of holding it in like I used to, back when I thought a serious man didn't laugh too loud in public. Foolish thing to believe, looking back. None of this is about living forever. I'm not interested in living forever. I'm interested in being able to enjoy the years I do get, and that requires showing up for your own body the way you'd show up for an old friend. Quietly, consistently, without making a production of it. The fourth thing is my independence. This one took me the longest to understand, because I had it backwards for years. I thought independence meant doing everything alone, refusing every offer of help, proving I didn't need anybody. That's not independence. That's just stubbornness wearing a nicer coat. Real independence is something smaller and more important. It's still cooking my own breakfast. It's still balancing my own checkbook, even though my accountant could do it faster. It's still figuring out how to work the thermostat my grandson installed, instead of calling him every single time it acts up. Every one of those small, ordinary tasks I do for myself is a little deposit into my own confidence. And confidence, once you're in your 80s, is not a small thing. It's the difference between feeling like a person and feeling like a project other people manage. I knew a man named Walter, tough old electrician, wouldn't let anybody help him with anything. That's the opposite mistake, and it cost him plenty. But there's a difference between refusing help out of pride and choosing to do what you can still do for yourself for as long as you can do it. One is fear dressed up as strength. The other is just quietly holding on to who you are. I try to do the second one. Some days I do it better than others. The fifth thing, and this might be the one that matters most, is my dignity. Dignity isn't something you can buy back once you've given it away. I learned that watching other people more than I learned it from my own mistakes, thankfully. I've seen men my age beg for attention from children who'd already made it clear they weren't interested in giving it. I've seen people change who they are, soften their opinions, swallow their own preferences, just to be included at somebody's table. I understand the loneliness behind that. I really do. But chasing people who don't value you doesn't fill the hole. It just teaches you to accept less than you deserve. And that lesson gets harder to unlearn the longer you practice it. Dignity, to me, means I don't perform a version of myself just to be liked. It means if someone doesn't have room for me, I let them go without making myself smaller trying to fit. It means I can sit alone on a Friday night and still think well of myself, because my worth was never up for a vote in the first place. Nobody can take your dignity from you. You can only give it away. And once you understand that, you stop handing it out so easily. I think about a woman I used to see at the community center. Must be 10 years back now. Sharp as anything, funny, had opinions worth hearing. But somewhere along the way she'd changed, agreed with whoever was talking, laughed at jokes a half second before she actually understood them, just to seem like she was keeping up. Watching her was like watching someone slowly erase themselves so they wouldn't be left out of a room. Nobody made her do that. She did it to herself, one small surrender at a time, because she was more afraid of being alone than she was of disappearing. I think about her more than I'd like to admit, because for a stretch in my 50s, I was doing something close to the same thing. Different costume, same fear underneath it. I spent years protecting my money because I thought it would keep me safe. I bought insurance for everything. I watched the stock numbers like they were a heartbeat monitor. And none of it, not $1 of it, gave me what that quiet Tuesday morning gave me. Sitting there, coffee gone cold, nothing to prove, nobody to convince, nowhere I needed to be. I'm 82 now. I don't know how many more mornings like that I get. None of us do, no matter our age. But I know this much. One day, nobody is going to remember what sat in my bank account. They won't ask about it, and if they did, I wouldn't be able to tell them. But I think they'll remember whether I was peaceful to be around, whether I gave my time freely instead of grudgingly, whether I stayed independent as long as I could and asked for help with grace when I couldn't anymore, and whether I kept my dignity right to the end without ever needing to beg for a seat at anybody's table. That's what I'm protecting now, not the number. The man who's left when the number doesn't matter anymore.